You're listening to The Luxury Item, the podcast on the business of luxury and the people and companies that are shaping the future of the luxury industry. Here's your host, Scott Kerr.
For 170 years, the Swiss luxury goods maker Bally has been best known for producing some of the most beautiful and well-made shoes and leather accessories in the world. Born in the Swiss Alps, Bally's ties to the mountains and core to its ethos, sponsoring alpine adventures from Winter Olympics teams and early 20th century climbing expeditions to creating iconic reindeer boots worn by Tenzing Norgay during the first ever ascent of Mount Everest in 1953 with Sir Edmund Hillary. Today, the historically traditional brand is in step with a new generation of discerning clients who appreciate Bally's tried-and-true techniques and consistent quality. In a move to boost relevancy and growth, Bally recently appointed LA-based superstar streetwear designer Rhuigi Villaseñor to oversee the creative direction of the brand. My guest on the Luxury Item podcast is Nicolas Girotto, Chief Executive Officer at Bally. Nicolas joined Bally in October 2015 and sits on the label's board of directors and executive committee. He has a 20-year-plus experience in fashion and retail distribution worldwide. Welcome to the Luxury Item, Nicolas.
Hi, Scott. Thanks
Exciting.
for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to do this. Exciting times at Bally these days. Bally just appointed Rhuigi Villaseñor as its new creative director to oversee the artistic direction of the brand. The 29-year-old Rhuigi is founder of LA-based luxury streetwear brand Rude and is one of the most in-demand designers around. How did you finally land upon Rhuigi after this long hiatus without a creative director?
Listen, this is a funny story. As you know, in the creative process, we use mood boards to design our collection, and in the last 2 to 3 seasons, Rhuigi was part of this mood board because we like his aesthetic, really balancing luxury aesthetics, but also street style. So he has been present as an inspiration for the brand in the last 2 to 3 seasons. And after having worked on the repositioning of the brand, as you know, I've been appointed 3 years ago. After the last 2-3 years, I've been working on the repositioning of the brand, on repositioning our offer, our communication. I felt that it was becoming important to appoint a creative director, and this is very naturally and organically that I decided to engage a dialogue with Rhuigi because we simply loved his style, and this dialogue engaged last year back in September. There's been an excellent connection between the two of us, between him and the brand, and this is very naturally that we decided to partner. So, as you know, he's one of the rising stars, and you mentioned it, in the industry. We love the fact that he's really an ID generator machine,
Right,
and
right.
Also really a community builder. And this is what we were looking for in order to be able to bring the brand into a new era, bridging this. What the brand is known for, more the formal wear, but also to what the customer are looking for today, something that is more casual, streetwear. And his personal aesthetic is really bridging these two worlds. And this is why we've been very interested by his profile. On his side, he has a true love for craftsmanship, beautiful objects, and he has been passionate about our brand when he has been able to discover our archive, to discover also our productions and how we still manufacture our shoes in Switzerland, and the level of craftsmanship that we put into it. So, yeah, it has been a love story, and it is very naturally that we decided to partner. So I'm very excited, and all the team that is surrounding me is very excited about observing what he will be coming with in the spring summer for the spring summer 23 season.
Okay, so that's that will be his first collection.
Exactly, and that we will be showing in Milan next September.
It's interesting. We're starting to see a lot more luxury players in the industry rethinking their business strategies and tapping creative directors with a background in high-end streetwear to appeal to younger audiences. What does this shift overall symbolize to you about what's going on in the industry?
There's been a lot of comments when Rhuigi has been appointed the helm of a brand like Bally, a brand of heritage, 170 years of history, very known for its craftsmanship. And a lot of people have been commenting and been very interested about this company appointing a creative director that is coming from, between brackets, a streetwear background. But I found particularly interesting the latest article from one of the latest articles from Vanessa Friedman in the New York Times. So it's which is the title is Why Streetwear is Dead.
Right.
And I think that this is very interesting that now streetwear is an integral part of our industry. It's not only a style for a certain community, for a certain group of age, for a certain geography. This is something that is now across our industry, and that really identify a shift in our industry that shows a kind of democratization, accessibility, and also tapping into what is today culturally relevant. So as far as I'm concerned, I have not tapped a designer that is coming from streetwear. I have tapped a designer that, yes, has a background in streetwear, but that is much more than that today. Mm-hmm. So I think that this is part of their curriculum, and this is very interesting that the industry now is considering this generation that are bringing something fresh, something very new to our industry. No, as far as I'm concerned, I'm very excited about him enabling us to reach a new audience, because with his tone of voice, he would be able to tell a story about our heritage, about our values in a much different way, much different fashion that we are used to, and in a way that will be relevant for an audience that the brand has been struggling to tap. So I'm very excited about this moment, and I think that it's very interesting, the trend that we observe in the industry right now.
You know, a luxury brand today is, of course, about heritage, craftsmanship, and creativity, but it's also about values. How would you define Bally's values?
Well, you know, we are around since 1851. So
right.
We have been celebrating 171 years of shoemaking in Switzerland. So this is something that is obviously one of our characteristics. We were born as shoemaker. We have continuously been producing shoes in Switzerland. This is something that I am particularly attached to, our Swiss made, keeping this know-how that we have in Switzerland for shoemaking. But this is a brand also with, as you can imagine, 171 years of history. This is a brand that has been able to continuously adapt, evolve. This is one of the value of Bally that goes very well with Swissness, where if you try to list what are the values that are the most associated to Switzerland and to Swissness, there is definitively the innovation. And Bally has been able to constantly adapt, evolve, innovate in order to go through these 171 years of history.
Yeah, they're saying its storied heritage has been a real key narrative for the brand, and often mining its heritage as an inspiration for any new collections. So how does Bally do the great balancing act of blending the past and the future, you know, heritage and cultural relevance?
As you say, this is a fine balance. This is a fine balance to find between hammering this heritage without being boring. And this is really where where Rhuigi is coming in his ability to tell a story about our heritage in a completely new fashion, in a new way, and to be able to decode Bally, to decode its cause to a new generation of customers, but also to tell the story to existing customers, to our existing audience in a different way. This cultural relevance is particularly important, but there are also new elements that are coming, and our customers are demanding more and more from their brands. There are certain topics that are must right now, must have for the brand, and I'm thinking of in particular to sustainability elements. Also, what we are doing around the diversity, equity, inclusion that needs really to happen at every level of our business. So this is something that is important for us. But also very important to the next generation of Bally's customers. So we have engaged in important effort to continue to be culturally relevant beyond our core business, and I'm thinking in particular to efforts on sustainability, on our corporate social responsibility in supporting the world of arts. For instance, we have been celebrating this year the 15 years of our foundation for art and culture, but also in education. And also in mountain preservation, we are talking about the Bally's values, and obviously as a Swiss brand, you associate immediately Switzerland with the mountains where we were born. So we also feel that this is part of our responsibility. So all these elements that are important to the new generations and which they are expecting a brand to be very active. So this is, I think, also how you manage this cultural relevancy that you need to have as a brand, but also leveraging on what is true to the brand, what is part of its history.
And you joined Bally in 2015 as Chief Operating Officer and moved into the CEO role at Bally shortly before the pandemic struck in 2019. Luxury brands had to adjust their business strategies to solve the new challenges that they were faced. What was the state of Bally's global e-commerce platform at the time, and how aggressively did you have to accelerate your digital transformation?
So you mentioned that I joined just before the pandemic. I took over the CEO role just before the pandemic. In terms of digital, there's been in a forced manner. There's been, but also it was strategic. There's been a strong push on digital. So we already had a solid platform at the time, but we have been growing digitally very fast. To give you some numbers, we've been moving from 11% of our sales online to almost 30% of our sales online. So a strong push digital, but the strategic but also forced digitalization of the company has not been applying only on the transactional part. It has applied also on all our core processes. And think about during the pandemic, we were not able to present our collections to our partners, to our wholesale partners. So we had to very quickly, because simply they were not able to travel. So we had to quickly put in place solutions to give them the possibility to experience our collection and in a fashion that is roughly identical to the one that they have when they're physically present in our showroom. So we put in place a virtual showroom extremely quickly that has delivered great results, where our partners have been extremely happy with what we put in place, where they were able to see the products with a high level of detail, 360 degrees, to experience them, to have a great quantity of content also about the brand, about the new collections, but also to go through the more administrative part. So really to have along the value chain, to have all the process being digitalized. So this, making an example with B2B business and with our wholesale partner, we can do also examples, and the same as applied for the way we are presenting to our audience, to press our collections. Obviously, we have been expanding also our e-commerce presence and opening new platforms. So since 2019, we have been expanding in China on Tmall, on the luxury pavilion. We have now a great presence there. And this digitalization also applies to the storytelling, to our investment online, and also the integration between online and offline. Making an example, for instance, with the live streaming, that has been something that has been very successful, especially in Asia, that we've been launching in 2020.
You know, there's an interesting phenomenon that's been going on in the past couple of years, and the pandemic probably accelerated, is the demand for luxury goods in the US is such that we're seeing a number of luxury brands expanding within the US that would be considered not primary markets, but very strong local markets like Denver and Troy and Scottsdale. These are new cities that have strong pockets of wealth. And you said in an article that during the depths of the pandemic, Bally was generating surprisingly robust online sales in these secondary markets like Austin and Houston. Would Bally consider expanding its retail footprint in these smaller locations?
Absolutely. I'm not sure that we will qualify them again, secondary market or smaller location. But definitively from a European standpoint, these are not the cities that you would consider at first, that will come to your mind first when considering about expansion in the US. But during the pandemic, it was very interesting to see where our sales were coming from, and they were coming from area where we had no retail presence. So we really changed our approach in order to understand where our customers are and how to get closer to them. Digital is important. Absolutely, we are going through digitalization, but I don't think at all that the store and the role of the store, that the store is dead, and the role of the store needs definitively to evolve, and being closer to our customers is absolutely fundamental. So I'm right now in the US. I'm in New York, and one of the purpose of the visit was to seek for locations, and we are absolutely looking in these markets. And as you rightly say, pandemic has changed a lot of things. I think that many people have reviewed the way they want to live. Remote working has an impact. They have been moving from big cities to smaller, between brackets, smaller cities. So we have been observing, and this is something also that has been reported everywhere in the press, but this second tier city that have been booming, and this is something that we have been experiencing. So we have, for instance, opened recently a new store in Miami, in Bal Harbour. And this is something that this opening also represents where the brand now wants to be in an environment that are not only a succession of luxury shops, but that are an environment where there is a good merge and combination between art, culture, foods, cultural engagement, and to be in lifestyle hubs closer to our customer, because there is something also priority for Bally, but also for the rest of the luxury industries to tap the local customer. We know that our industry has been investing heavily on the tourists that were a large chunk of sales in the key luxury cities in the world. And post-pandemic, we know that the tourism is still struggling to recover. So we need to focus on the local customers, which is more and more important. And these cities or these hubs in which we want to open are representing our desire to engage again in a better way with these local customers.
Yeah, and Bally opened 3 flagship stores in the last year. One on Regent Street in London, one in downtown here in the Meatpacking District, and third one in Sydney's George Street. Are they all concept stores? What is Bally's flagship store strategy?
So as you said, we opened in 2021 three stores, one in New York in Meatpacking, another one in London in Regent Street, and another one in Sydney in George Street. So we consider these 3 stores being flagship stores. In 2019 in Milan, in Monte Napoleone, we have opened what we call the Bally House concept. This is our new flagship concept that we are rolling out. We want these stores to be much more than transactional. So the way we have designed these stores is to provide to our customers much more than only products on shelves, but to be able to have other kind of engagement with our customers. Might be talks in the store. So for instance, we have furniture that are flexible enough to be able to organize talks in our stores, discussions with panels. We can have also a form of cultural engagement. For instance, in London, we had art exhibition in our store, and this is a new way to engage with our customer. I'm a big fan of, and I've been promoting a lot digitalization in the company, but the physical engagement and the close relation with our customer is absolutely fundamental. And in a world where a large chunk of the business is now digital, and that you can get from your iPad, your computer, your iPhone, you can get access to whatever you want from wherever in the world, you need to rethink absolutely the role of the store and what is the purpose of the store. And one of the purpose to me is to engage on a completely different layer with our customers. So this needs to be reflected in the design of our store, and this is what we try to do in the 3 stores that you listed. So Meatpacking, for instance, that is in this cultural hub where you find much more in our store than just product on the shelves.
You were talking about China for a second before, and China is Bally's largest market worldwide, and you continue to invest heavily in multi-channel opportunities in that market. And not long ago, Tmall Luxury and Women's Wear Daily named Bally as one of China's most innovative luxury brands. What is it about the Bally brand that makes it so popular with Chinese consumers?
We have a very strong brand equity there and awareness, as we have been one of the first luxury brand entering the market in the 80s. There is a fact also that our customer there and our audience really loves our Swiss heritage. What does it mean in terms of craft, in terms of leather craftsmanship, and also quality of products? So this is something that they are very keen on. We have been highlighted as one of the brands performing the better physically, but also digitally, as we have heavily invested there. We have been one of the first brands moving, for instance, on luxury pavilion. We believed into it and we invested, and we keep this competitive edge, having been one of the first brands adopting this new platform. What we have done in order to achieve that, we have first and foremost reinforced as a local team. This is a market that is very different, where the technologies, where the platforms are not the same as the Western world, and you need to rely on a strong local team to be able to guide you. And this is what we have been doing in 2019 in reinforcing our team there. We've also been partnering with local people there, local agencies to guide us at best. And we have been increasing strongly also our digital spend. You were mentioning WW, mentioned us one of the most successful brands on Tmall, and we have been increasing vastly our investment on this platform. But also, and this has been one of the key factor in adapting to the local demand and creating local content, creating local capsule. This has been something that has been a winning factor. I would say also that we have adapted. This is a market that has also evolved a lot. If I'm looking at market, Chinese customers were used to travel a lot. We had a strong presence in airports. With the pandemic, this has changed a lot, but also has created new opportunities. We all have in mind the Hainan, Sanya Island, where there's been a very strong duty-free business that has developed, and we have also adapted on that in that sense. Now, looking ahead, in terms of priorities, we will continue to really to adapt to this market that is evolving, and we know the situation right now in China, which is a difficult situation with certain important cities still in lockdown. So we are adapting. Yeah. We continue to invest strongly on digital, and we see also a continuous evolution of the technologies there, and continuous evolution also of the habits of our customer with platforms, new platforms evolving and emerging every day.
Last year, Bally honored its 170-year shoemaking history as architects of leather with a digital campaign titled My Craft, My Legacy, featuring the company's expert artisans. The campaign featured a series of portrait photographs of the artisans alongside the instruments of their craft. It gave the public really a rare opportunity to meet these craft people. How did the idea for that campaign come about?
From a visit in the archive. During the pandemic last year, I've been doing a visit in the archive. We have archives that are just incredible. We are talking about 170 years of history. So we have more than 35,000 pair of shoes. We have incredible collections of posters, of art pieces. And visiting our archive, I have stumbled upon these collections of photography, where it was back in the 40s, where Bally decided to photograph all its employees. It was an artistic project. It was to pay homage to employees. And I decided to reproduce it, especially in a moment where we were in the middle of the pandemic, where I think it was to pay a tribute to our employees in this moment, very particular moment, and especially our artisans that are making the essence of Bally. I think it was something that beautiful to be done, something that we presented during It was back in September 20, and the feedback has been just great. So it was destined to be only a communication aimed at more corporate communication, but the feedback has been so great that it became a customer-facing communication. So this is how this idea came, and it has been highly appreciated by our artisans. They were all extremely proud to have their pictures, to have their photos in our communication campaigns.
How does an artisan-based business like Bally mix craft and new technologies like AI and robotics and still maintain its Swiss-made reputation?
If you would visit our factory, you would be extremely surprised to see the very high level of manuality in our factory. We produce between 150 to 200,000 pair of shoes per year in Switzerland in our factory. But the level of manuality is still extremely high, because this is also a guarantee of craftsmanship and quality. But it doesn't mean that because you respect certain way of doing certain processes that have been part of your tradition past, that you cannot innovate. And as I told you, Bally is a story of innovation, and there's been constant innovation during these last decades. So AI is one of the innovation. We are looking, for instance, at 3D prototyping. So today we want to develop a product. You have sample prototypes, samples. How to replace that with 3D modeling, 3D prototyping. This is something that has a benefit in terms of creativity, as you can test multiple iterations of color derivations of materials, but at the same time benefit in terms of sustainability. You avoid to produce a product and you positively impact your footprint. In terms of AI, also we are using AI to better forecast and to produce less, to have less leftovers for the same amount of sales. So to me, tradition and innovation are not antagonists at all. What is considered to be our tradition today very probably was what's considered to be innovation 50 years ago.
So I want to talk to you about the metaverse, which seems to be on everybody's mind these days. So the metaverse is a revolution in the digital world, and luxury brands like Gucci and Dolce & Gabbana and Burberry have already boldly embraced it in various ways. So what are your thoughts on the opportunity for virtual luxury goods, and will we see Bally playing in this space?
Well, first, personally, I'm trying to educate myself a lot and staying very alert. We are all talking about metaverse, but I'm not sure that we are all very experienced into it. And personally, I'm trying to understand better and better what does it mean. So to translate, that's not pushing back at all. On the opposite, we are very alert and we are monitoring. I think this is an opportunity for brands to enter a new territory, to tell new stories. However, this needs to be done, in my opinion, in a very meaningful way. We don't want with a team to go into the metaverse or to get NFT if this is not something that is meaningful. And we don't want to have any initiative on that side that are just to be part of the bandwagon or that are marketing gimmicky. So we are alert. We are looking at, there are interesting things. We are promoting innovation, and we have Bally every year is sponsoring an award, the Fashion Innovation Award. We are the main sponsor, and we are defining also where we want the startups to pitch for this Fashion Innovation Award. And last year it was about digital fashion and augmented reality, and we have been presented very interesting solutions for brands to enter this metaverse. So long story short, we are very alert. We are looking at it, but we will enter into it only when we will be finding something that we consider to be very meaningful for our audience.
And more luxury fashion labels are now turning to sustainable vegan leather alternatives made of pineapple, mushroom, palm leaves. Last year, Bally launched a collection of eco-friendly products made from materials like vegetable tan leather and pomegranate dye. In what ways is Bally working to be sustainable?
In many ways. We have launched in 2019 our sustainability roadmap. It started first with an assessment to understand where we were, and building together with the team a roadmap to understand where we want to be. And the starting point is really the transparency. to me. To go on our website, you have our roadmap, you get our sustainability reports that are stating clearly where we are right now. The CO2 emissions, we have quantified also our targets based on the science-based targets to know exactly the CO2 emissions of Bally right now, and we have taken commitments to reduce these emissions, and this is phased. So sustainability is really at the top of the agenda. I think that if we look also at our values, and that also connects with Swiss values, I think that business ethics is absolutely a priority, being for people, but also for the environment. So we are absolutely conscious that greater transparency is leading to also greater accountability. So this is why we disclose a lot. We really want to be a part of the solution and not the problem. We know that our industry, unfortunately, one of the most polluting industry, and we need to change that drastically. So this is why in 2019, also Bally decided to be one of the early signatories of the Fashion Pact. This initiative that groups fashion groups and fashion companies to get out of the competitive field on this very specific topic and to work together across different objectives. And one of the objectives is to reach the net zero by 2050. So concretely, what we are doing, we have been moving and investing in renewable energies. Today, 75% of the energy used by Bally is coming from renewable energies, solar panels and so on. We're also introducing, and we have a plan to increase more and more the share of sustainable materials in our collection. We have reached more than 30% of materials that are considered as sustainable that we include in our so-called preferred material list. And all the product development team and the design team are focused on that objective to season after season to increase the share of preferred materials in our lines. You mentioned in your question that we have been replacing certain of our lines. There is our bestseller that was a line of men accessories that was produced with PVC that we entirely redesigned and replaced with regenerated leather. To be on this topic of sustainability, we need to be very concrete. And I wanted to give you two examples of what the brand has been doing recently, but obviously much more is to come, and we have ambitious objectives to make a better Bally being greener.
Since Bally's founding in 1851, the brand has instilled a strong sense of social responsibility to preserve the stunning mountain environments into which its own identity is woven. Can you talk about the Bally Peak Outlook initiative, which includes cleanup expeditions to Everest and other Himalayan mountains?
Yes, this is just an incredible story. You mentioned Bally, born in the Swiss mountains, historically has a strong tie with the mountain environment and sponsored many expeditions. And as you probably know, the first man on the top of the Everest was Søren Mondilari and Sherpa Tenzing Norgay. One of these two men was wearing Bally reindeer boots during the first ascent of the Everest in 1953. And since then, Bally kept with the Tenzing family a very strong bond, strong tie. And back in 2019, we've been alerted by his son, by Jamling, together also with another connection of us with Dawa Stephen Sherpa. We've been alerted on the vast problem of pollution in this extreme mountain environment represents the Everest from base camp to summit. And we have been asked to help them to provide our assistance to do a first cleanup initiative from base camp to the summit. It was the first time that this was done. And Bally has provided assistance to this group of people that were very committed to preserve their own environment. And this is how we led the first Bally Peak Outlook initiative, collecting 2 tons of garbage from the base camp to the summit. The feedback on this initiative was so great. It was so genuine because of our historical bond with this part of the world. It was an initiative also that was so highly appreciated by our employees and also our other stakeholders that we decided to to continue and to have a long-term approach to incorporate a foundation, the Bally Peak Outlook Foundation, and that has a mission to preserve the mountain environment. So since then, we ran many expeditions collecting 7 tons of garbage from the base camp of the Himalaya, in the Himalaya region, so Everest, but also the other 8,000 in the region. We don't stop there. We have other projects still in the Himalaya region, but also in other regions in the world, always serving our mission, the mission of this foundation, to preserve mountain environment. So talking about, for instance, Kilimanjaro region or the Mount Fuji, always partnering with local communities. This is something that is key for this foundation.
So if you were to put a title of this next chapter for the Bally brand book, what would you call the chapter?
I would call it Decoding Bally. And we discussed about that at the beginning of the podcast about this new creative director, and this is what really we are expecting. Where we are expecting him is to be able to tell our history, our genuine history, in a much different manner, and to reach a new audience, to tell about this Swiss heritage that he is embracing, and to tell it in a joyful manner, in a playful manner that reach a new audience. So Decoding Bally definitively will be the title.
So Nicola, my final question is the luxury item question, which I ask all my guests. So if you were stranded on a deserted island and you can only have one luxury item with you, what would that luxury item be? It can't be any form of air transportation, of water transportation. It can't be anything that requires mobile service so you can call somebody to get you off that island. It's just you by yourself on this lonely island out in the ocean somewhere. What would that one luxury item you would like to have with you?
Without thinking twice, it would be it will be an item that has a function. And it will be my camera, my Leica camera. I'm a big fan of photography. I would definitively take with me my Leica. This is a beautiful object with also a good parallel with the Bally, with a very high level of craftsmanship into it, but an item that has a function and that serves one of my passions, which is photography. So definitively will be my latest camera. I just hope that I will have also a computer in order to be able to see my pictures.
Nicolas Girotto, Chief Executive Officer at Bally, thank you so much for joining me on the luxury item.
Thank you, Scott. It was a pleasure.
That's it for this episode of the Luxury Item Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this useful and entertaining, I would be really grateful if you can share it with a friend or colleague. I would love it if you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other listeners find us. The Luxury Item Podcast is a production of Silvertone Consulting. I'm your host, Scott Kerr. Until next time.